Thank you for coming out. We very much so appreciate it. For those of you who don't know, I'm Maggie Vitale. I'm the assistant superintendent. And we truly appreciate you being here because our job is to help educate you about digital safety and how to keep your children safe on their devices. And we have brought out two experts tonight. We have Trooper Quinn and Trooper Bennett from the Pennsylvania State Police here to do a presentation. And if you haven't seen the vaping demo, not demo, vaping, we're not demonstrating how to vape, I apologize, exhibit from our SROs. They are certainly going over important information about vaping and also showing just different devices that we've confiscated this school year. So thank you for coming out. We appreciate your engagement and we hope that you learn from it. If you haven't grabbed food, please make sure you grab a sandwich.
All right, good evening, everyone. My name is Trooper Bennett, my partner Trooper Quinn. We're both with the Pennsylvania State Police Office of Community Engagement. And our section in that office is called the Heritage Affairs section of the Pennsylvania State Police. So I'll tell you a little bit of what our section does, just to give you some information about exactly what we do. So our Office of Community Engagement, our Heritage Affairs section, our primary function in that section is to monitor and respond to hate and bias-related incidents throughout the Commonwealth. Some incidents such as notable in the past, like the Tree of Life Synagogue shooting in East Pittsburgh, and numerous other issues triggered on race, religion, those different types of bias motivators. We try to respond to and address, especially when there happens to be civil tension. We also respond to acts of civil tension as a tension response team. Another component is what we do. We try to educate the public. We go into schools like we've done recently, like we're doing today, educating the students, teachers, parents about stuff like the crimes that are going on out there, what to be aware of, especially when we're using our phones and stuff like that. Just a long list of stuff that we try to educate the public on. So that's our main focus and our component is doing that, educating. And today, pretty much, what we're really talking about is what we've been talking about to a lot of these schools. They've been traveling across the Commonwealth, talking about cyberbullying, bullying in general, and harassment, because it's a big issue. It's affecting a lot of our schools, a lot of the kids. I can't tell you how many times after each of these presentations that we've done at these schools, the children come up to us and they're asking us tons of questions, about, what does it mean, if somebody keeps doing this to me, stuff like that. And they actually, report something after we've gone on and left that building. So we've seen a lot of good feedback as far as what we've been delivering. A lot of stuff that we discussed, they weren't aware of, before we walked in that building and talked about it with them. So we're glad that it's been received pretty well, and we've been pretty successful so far in conveying that message to all these kids. And I think they are definitely getting an understanding of what a lot of these laws are and what's going on, how some things can be offensive, which is what we kind of also will address here. Some things that you may have said that didn't know, or could be, offensive to the person, their culture, stuff like that. We'll also touch on that as well. We're going to get started. So our course agenda for tonight is not going to be too heavy, but we're going to concentrate on cyberbullying and harassment. We're going to talk about the long and short-term consequences of that, what could happen, once you get cited with harassment or charged with an offense like harassment. When we talk about social media applications, right, what they really are, because a lot of your kids probably know a lot of stuff, right, obviously that you don't know. We're going to be kind of educating on that, like educating you on what stuff that they're using, right, what's going on their phone that you may not be aware of that you didn't know. And as a parent, what can you do, right? We'll touch on what kind of stuff that you can do to better monitor your kids when they're on these devices, when they're outside of your home, interacting with their friends, and just being aware.
And also to keep in mind, I'm glad I don't need a mic. Keep in mind, this is not just for, us saying if your kid's being the aggressor. It's also if your kid's being a victim, okay? To kind of keep an eye out on what the aggressor, this bully that's bullying your child, what they could be facing in crime and law wise, okay? And kind of also some signs to keep a lookout on to see maybe if your child is being bullied or not. So we'll talk about certain signs as well.
So first slide, many parents cite technology as a reason why parenting is harder today than in the past. When asked whether parenting is harder, easier, or about the same as it was 20 years ago, larger shares of parents, about 66%, which includes those who have at least one child under the age of 18, say they believe it is harder today for most parents. Meanwhile, 7% think it is easier, while 26% believe parenting is about the same as it was 2 decades ago. Right? So one of the main big things that we have to deal with is technology, right? Technology is always updating, it's always changing. I can tell you from being a police officer, compared to when I first started, when Snapchat came about, I wasn't, knowledgeable on Snapchat up until I got called to all these schools and all these incidents where kids are sending photos of each other, all these, images are hidden in different files, stuff like that. So, become aware of stuff like that, but you didn't know, right? It's hard to keep up with. So I can't imagine, as parents, not be able to keep track of all these things that are going on, right? What they're getting into, who they're talking to, by what means are they communicating with them. So there's all these different avenues that they have access to, so we just have to be aware of. And just it's a struggle out there for some parents, who don't have all the support to monitor one child, or if it's multiple children inside of a household as well. Children are being exposed to technology increasingly, right, each day, and at even younger ages than before. Often these children also have a better understanding of how technology works than adults and parents. In order for children to be safe online and to make safe and smart choices with their technology, requires the adults in their lives to remind them about how practicing healthy cybersecurity hygiene and help them as they learn the advantages and disadvantages of technology and the internet. Right? So, like I said, technology is always changing. Safe online practices, right? So, the example I can give you, I have two children, 2 young girls, and they have tablets. I'm always preaching to them, who are you calling? They have, there's always apps to communicate with their friends in, so we're always monitoring what they're doing. If they're taking the tablet with them somewhere, watch them where they take it, tell them you don't need to take it in the bathroom with you. It's not that serious, right? You don't have to have that attached to you all the time. So just be careful, stuff like that. Pay attention to, when they're taking these devices with them, different places, just monitoring them. Stuff like that is just, safe practices, being aware of like what they're doing, definitely is something to focus on. Did you know parents of teens are notably less likely than parents of younger children aged 6 to 9 to say that they monitor technology uses very closely. 7 in 10 young people are victims of cyberbullying, and 30% experience cyberbullying on a frequent basis. It's according to the Ditch the Label Annual Cyberbullying Survey 2013. So, what we touch on when we go into all these schools, we talk about what are the consequences, what could happen when you engage in cyberbullying or bullying in general, right? So we tell them, this is the law that we apply, all right, for the punishment as far as what can happen to you if I cyberbully someone or bully someone. You cite them or charge them with harassment. So we define harassment. All right, it's a person that commits a crime of harassment when with an intent to harass, annoy, alarm another person. That person strikes someone, they shove them, they kick them, they subject them to some kind of physical contact, or they threaten to do the same. Also, they follow that person in about a public place or places. I always tell them, just because what you might find funny doesn't mean, that other person may find it funny. Like following a kid around for no reason, because you just want to annoy them and harass them, just make it, having that intent just to make for yourself look like it's funny, but for them, you may not view it the same way. It goes into engage in a course of conduct repeatedly commits acts for no legitimate purpose. All right, communicate to or about any such person you lewd. That's vicious, threatening, obscene words, language, drawings or caricatures. So we talked on like making those funny illustrations, memes, drawings, or making disparaging statements or children or a meme that they post online, something like that. Right, that can be considered harassment as well. Communicate repeatedly in an anonymous manner. Communicate repeatedly in extremely convenient hours. Mention stuff like calling someone from a blocked number, right? That may seem funny. You're calling them, but there's no purpose behind it. You're just doing it just because you think it's funny. All right, that's going to be considered harassment. Calling at inconvenient times, maybe when they're sleeping, when they're taking a test. Something like that, and they're not answering you. Maybe they hit that do not answer button, and it's going to voicemail, and you kind of get the hint that that's what's going on. You continue to call them anyway. So my advice to them is always just leave a message, right? Leave a message, voicemail, leave a text message, they get back to you. Don't keep pestering them for them to answer you, especially if it's not important, there's no purpose behind it, and you're just trying to ignore them. Right? Here's a quick video just describing harassment. Just kind of describes how what we always talk about with, when we go into schools, how our words and our actions, how they affect the people around us, right? So what we type online, all these things that we do with these, on these devices, what we put out there, especially when we post something online on an app like Facebook or something like that, where everyone can see it, right? How that can, emotionally, physically maybe affect someone. I always tell them, imagine if that was you, if that was your best friend, if that was a family member. Put yourself in that person's position as being subject to this type of abuse. So cyber harassment, Same thing as regular harassment, but just involves, being on your phone, being on those apps. Right? So it's a person commits a crime of cyber harassment of a child and with intent to harass, annoy, or alarm. The person engages in a continuing course of conduct of making any of the following by electronic means directly to a child or by publication through an electronic social media service. You're making a seriously disparaging statement or opinion about that child's physical characteristics, their sexuality, their sexual activity, their mental or physical health or condition, or you threaten to inflict harm. Seriously disparaging statement or opinion. A statement or opinion which is intended to, under circumstances, is reasonably likely to cause substantial emotional distress to a child, the victim's age, which produces some physical manifestation of distress. Right? So just imagine, like a scenario such as, Tim's in class, he shouts out to Sarah that Sarah's ugly, her family's weird, nobody should hang out with her, right? Imagine how Sarah would feel if she was subject to that abuse, right? Imagine how she would feel in person. But imagine if you posted something like that online, right, where everyone can see it. But think about the emotional damage that can cause to Sarah when she knows everyone sees something like that, and they're probably posting replies to that, laughing memes, emojis, stuff like that. So think about the damage from that perspective. Some other stuff that we can be aware of: ethnic intimidation. 2022, in the Commonwealth here out west, there was an incident where a 15-year-old student called a black student a porch monkey. Right? So one of the things that we try to educate on, obviously, is the language that we use, the words that we use, but not being aware of maybe how monkey can be offensive to a person of color, so, a black person. In this particular incident, 15-year-old kid, he called that student a porch monkey. I think he was probably arrested for.
He was arrested for the hate crime of ethnic intimidation, but also was charged with harassment.
Another incident we had in the state, 2022, 3 white students make several nooses in the classroom. Right? Obviously, you can see how offensive the noose could be, especially seeing it inside of the school. Right? Just something, obviously, to be aware of, how that can trigger some concern within the community as well. If they see something like that going on at a school, they can be concerned about that. And also, obviously, all the parents, when they see something like that. Obviously, this instance, they were charged with ethnic intimidation for that act. He also called a black student the N-word. So I got connected with the noose. He told the black student to go back to their country. So all offenses, obviously, the intent there was based off of that person's race, obviously, because the N-word, go back to their country, there was intent there. So they were charged with that hate crime. This incident, same last year, white student posts picture on social media of a black female and himself with a monkey emoji on his face, right, stating, "Just 2 monkeys monkeying around." Right. Often when we present this particular incident, the kids kind of giggle about it. And we take, they're probably not aware, obviously, how offensive it could be when you say something like this, especially with the reference to a person of color. Right? How they can find that disparaging, how they can find that offensive. So we try to let them know, hey, don't make the mistake of doing something like this.
And the white student, he was unaware that was even a derogatory term. He was doing it as a joke, like they were just monkeying around. But unfortunately, she felt differently. So she was the victim. And we always tell kids it's not up to you to determine how that person is going to feel when you're saying something or posting something about them. That's going to fall on you. So if they feel victimized or threatened by what you posted, unfortunately, you can't just be like, well, whoops, or I didn't know. I mean, we know kids, they don't know everything. But unfortunately, if someone is, they're feeling very offended and victimized, but whatever statement was posted, I mean, unfortunately, it's going to take just not only school is going to be consequencing, but then it's going to be brought obviously to the authorities as well, depending on how severe the statement was.
So some what are the consequences when you break the law? So what comes with breaking the law? Obviously, you get arrested, right? When you're arrested, comes with a mugshot. You get fingerprinted. You have to pay fines and court costs. You tell them, you can't afford those fines and court costs unless parents are taking it out of your account, right? So who's going to end up paying for that money? Probably your parents. So I'm trying to remind them about that. Community service and probation. Community service that they didn't volunteer for. Now they have their time being taken away from them on the weekends. Now they have to be doing community service, taken away from their own time because of this particular consequence. Having to face suspension, being expelled from school, depending on the school's policies, you might have to go to summer school or go get a GED. Think about the effects that it might have with your kids, the trust that may damage when you get that call from the school or the local police department saying that your kid got caught up with got arrested for something. Right? How are you going to feel about that? Right? Try to let them know about that feeling as well. Talk about when they get home, the loss of privileges. What's the punishment going to be? Is it going to be taking away their computer, taking away their video games, their cell phone, those sports, the clubs, those after-school activities that they do, seeing their friends, driving when they get to that age, or whether it's just a matter of just riding the bike around the block. All these privileges that could possibly be taken away from them, when they get in trouble. Definitely if they get arrested, or whatever the school does, or suspended, what could happen. When we talk about the long-term consequences, right? When you get arrested, you have a criminal record, it's a stain it's going to follow you pretty much for the rest of your life. So we pulled this stat, right? According to recent studies, nearly 60% of boys who are classified as bullies in grades 6 through 9 were convicted of at least one crime by age of 24. Even more dramatic, 40% of them had 3 or more convictions by age of 24. I always say the bullies that are in that building, they're always, they continue to be this way as they progress academically, into adulthood. They continue having this behavior and it doesn't change. They're going to be the ones that have those run-ins with law enforcement. They're always going to be in trouble, following the rules, breaking the law. So these are people that are going to be generating this bigger rap sheet, this bigger criminal record by not having to change this behavior, and by not changing their reputation. And we talk about their future going to college. These application process, they do, I believe, run a criminal history background on a lot of them. So think about how that can affect their chances if they got arrested for something, how it's going to affect them by getting into college. Finding a job, we tell them not necessarily all these offenses that they may commit as kids may disappear as they get older. Right? Just because you're a juvenile doesn't mean it's going to get expunged or it's going to disappear. Right? Don't always believe that, because a lot of these employers can still look it up, find it, especially if you did something online where it doesn't really disappear. They can always find something that you may have posted that you got in trouble for, or how that can come back to haunt you. We talk about the relationships that they have with their friends, where it's a boyfriend, girlfriend, future spouses, how that can be affected as well. It's no fun, to ask some men that are in jail, women who are constantly getting runs with the law, how that affects your relationship with your kids growing up. missing those milestone events and stuff like that. So, think about how that's going to damage, the relationship with your family members if you're not always there because you're getting into trouble. Interferes with learning. It may lead to alcohol and drug use. It may lead to increased rates of absenteeism and school dropout. It makes us feel unsafe at school and at home. It makes us feel lonely, depressed. It can lead to physical illnesses and lack of sleep and or proper eating habits. It can lead to suicide. One thing I touch on is absenteeism. I think a big awareness about absenteeism in school, especially when it comes to bullying. One big reason for absenteeism is due to bullying. A lot of kids don't show up to school because they're being bullied. Quick example that I always talk about is just not that long ago, I got called to a school district for a bomb threat. And I went to this house after we were able to trace this anonymous email back to this residence within the school district. And I went to that house, I spoke to the parents, said, hey, you talked to you, this email came back here. I know you have a son that goes to this school. I spoke to that young man, he admitted to sending that email, or send that anonymous email, because he was being picked on at school, and he didn't want to show up that day, and he felt so bad about himself that he resorted to do something like that. Unfortunately for him, he was charged, with terroristic threats, whatever it is, all the other charges that come with that, causing that type of destruction. So, just make them aware, be aware of, your friends around you. You notice someone getting picked on at school, they don't show up for one day, then it's consecutive days. But that's something you should be concerned about. Right? You notice kids getting picked on, teachers might not be aware of it, but you are. Right? So that's something you should probably bring to your attention for parent, teacher, and use all these tools that they have available to them, like Safe to Say, and just be able to say something about that, bring awareness to it. Because often if you don't, that's when it becomes too late. We don't know, that kid could have had thoughts of maybe bringing a weapon to school. That's why he resorted to maybe making that bomb threat. So he didn't have to bring weapons to school that day, or not have anyone in the building. So just something to be aware of, to think about, especially when people aren't showing to school because they're getting picked on.
I wasn't gonna share it. It's not like I can stop it.
It's just a joke. That's not cool.
Okay, just to touch on that video, obviously, some kids might think it's something sent to them, but it's just funny. It's a joke, and that's why they're sending it to their friends or other people and not reporting it. But I'm going to tell you about an incident that I had 2 years ago when I was on patrol in Pike County. Okay, so not exactly this county, but still close enough to home. I had 2 middle school students. I had a boyfriend and a girlfriend. The boyfriend asked the girlfriend to send him a picture from the waist up with nothing on. He loved her so much, they were going to be together forever. And silly for her, she sent it. I don't have to ask you guys, but we can all use our imagination to find out, who else got that picture that was sent to that boyfriend. It went around the entire middle school. That female was obviously the last one to know about it. All her friends, people shouldn't even, were just acquaintances, were laughing, making fun of her, and she had no idea because she had sent this picture days prior, I believe on a Friday, and then now we're back in school on Monday when everyone knows about this picture. She was called into a principal's office, and he had told her, it was brought to his attention that this had occurred. Later on that night, she went home and she took every pill in her parents' medicine cabinet. She tried to kill herself. Okay, luckily, she was unsuccessful. and she was in critical care for 2 weeks. And she was able to get back to normal, or what normal she could get back to. Okay, so our kids might think it's just, it's a joke or whatever the situation may be. It's not. Okay, unfortunately, I arrested 13 middle school students that day. Okay, your child might not be the one that gets, that made that picture or had originally gotten that picture. But if they continue to send that picture around, they are now involved. Okay, state law, a child is under the age of 18. So an explicit picture of a child under the age of 18 is considered child pornography. Your child could be 13, and if they have another 13-year-old on their phone that's indecently exposed, they can be charged with having child pornography. That is a thing. So what kids might think is, oh, it's just another kid my age, with her breasts or whatever the situation may be. That is considered now child pornography that your child has on their phone. Or if your child's the one, unfortunately, sending that picture out, they're now disseminating child pornography of themselves. Okay, so it's just an eye-opening thing that this is occurring. And we do these presentations. We've done every school in Lackawanna County and every school in Pike County, and every school tells us that sending explicit pictures is a thing in their middle schools, and it's happening a lot. So I just want to bring that to the attention, tell your kids if they get something like that sent to their phones, immediately report it to someone, whether it's the SRO at their school, police, because it's a big, big deal. And a girl almost lost her life because of that.
According to cyberbullying is sending or posting harmful or cruel texts or images using the internet or other digital communication services, including cell phones. We go into examples of that. Trooper Quinn just touched on, like saying those nude images is definitely a big issue that we've been seeing. Sending cruel, vicious, and threatening emails, creating websites that have stories, pictures, and jokes, ridiculing others, posting pictures for students, kids online with derogatory phrases or questions attached to them, using someone else's email to send vicious or incriminating emails to others, or using instant messaging tools to harass others. What do you need to know? What are some signs? I'm just going over some of these very quick. What are some signs of bullying? We have a loss of interest in activities he or she previously enjoyed, torn clothing, a need for extra money or supplies, withdrawal, a loss of friends, a drop in grades. These are all signs, obviously, of a victim of bullying. What could be happening to them? What can you do as a parent? Teach kids to solve problems without using violence. Give children positive feedback. All right, when they behave well, to help their self-esteem. Ask the children about their day and listen to them talk. Take bullying seriously. Many kids are embarrassed to say they have been bullied. If you see any bullying, stop it right away. Even if your child is the one doing the bullying, right? Encourage your child to help others who need it. Okay? So how to prevent it? How to have your kids avoid, confront, and report it. So we have them ignore it, don't respond to it. There's no need for them to go engage in a back and forth, verbal assault on that person that they're texting to. I just tell them, stop it, leave it there, keep the evidence. If they're still harassing it, report it to someone, report it to the teacher, parents, law enforcement, so we can take care of it. It's always easy. We can block them, block the sender so they can't communicate with them anymore. Like I said, keep the evidence, the text messages, screenshots, emails. So this is the only time when it's acceptable to keep like a nude photo. If somebody sends them a nude photograph, they're not going to delete it for some reason. They're keeping it with the intention to maybe showing an adult or a teacher or law enforcement then obviously, that's going to be acceptable if they're doing it for that purpose, keeping the evidence so they can show it to someone. Write down what happened, all right? Explain why it made them feel hurt or upset. And among youth,
I'll take this over. So we're gonna go into the social media aspect. So among youth, 97% of all adolescents between the ages of 13 and 17 use at least one of the following 7 social networking service platforms: YouTube, Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, and Reddit. YouTube, number 1, Instagram, obviously number 2. I'm sure a lot of your children have Instagram on your phones. You might have Instagram yourself, but obviously Instagram is the highest. That is from law enforcement perspective. Instagram and Snapchat, those are the 2 platforms that we deal with all the time, okay? Because with Snapchat, somebody sends somebody something, but then it gets deleted after a certain amount of time. You can only look at it for so long. But like we like to tell our students when we're teaching this to them, it doesn't, okay? There are ways for all of that stuff to be traced back, even if you're deleting it, or even if this magic application is saying it's just going to get deleted after 24 hours. That's not the case. So obviously these are big social media networking sites we should be paying attention to. Majority of teens use YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and Snapchat. This is just showing from 2014 and 2015 the trends among US teens to 2022. TikTok and YouTube, obviously TikTok was not around in 2014 or 2015. It just came about in 2018, so there's no statistics. But same thing, 95% of US teens are using YouTube. They can post things on there, you can subscribe to channels, you can post on reviews, there's chat forums. So with YouTube, it's like a one-stop shop. You can do everything on it, where just TikTok is just mostly videos and pictures. So you have some applications up here. Usually when we bring this up to the students, they can run through all of those and tell us exactly what all of those are. And that's from middle school and up. So some of you might be looking at those and you might know maybe the main ones of like Twitter, Facebook, and Google, and Pinterest, and YouTube. But just in case, we'll go over them really quick. It's Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, Vine, Google+, Pinterest, Tumblr, WhatsApp, YouTube, TikTok, Roblox. That's obviously FaceTime or Zoom, and that's Discord. Okay, all of these apps, you can comment and post on and follow people. Okay, different subscribers or different profiles. So again, they may be foreign to you, but your kids, I'm telling you right now, if they're old enough, they have one, if not multiples, of these applications on their phones. Okay, sometimes apps are hidden for what they actually are. Okay, we have an application right here. If you were to see that on one of your kids' phones or somebody else's phone, you would think that's a calculator. It's not. It's a secret app that's used to hide photos, videos, files, and your browser history. So if you go to check your kid's browser history, just going onto the regular Safari or Chrome that's on their phone, it's not going to show it because they have that and it's blocking it. We have Whisper. It's an anonymous social networking site that promotes sharing secrets with strangers. It's like all around the world, every country, it's anonymous so that you can talk to other people anonymously about issues you're having or problems that you might be having or concerns, or want to ask, what's the best way to, I don't know, if a kid was to say like, my parents are really on me about, me bullying, or maybe they want to do something secretive and they're trying to find a way to ask somebody else, hey, have you been through this? What worked for you? Like, what were you able to do or say to your parents to kind of get them off of your tail a little bit? But the only thing with this app, it always shows your location, but it doesn't tell you that when you sign up for it. So these kids are signing up and it shows your exact pinpointed location. Okay, I downloaded it the other day just to make sure it was accurate, and I made my husband do it. It pinged right by our address. It was a couple of feet off, but in the vicinity, it showed exactly where I was at that time on my cell phone. So again, our kids don't know this, and they're talking to these anonymous people anonymously. How old are these people that they're talking to? Is it really Johnny who's 13, or is it Jonathan who's 40? Okay, so it's just things to be cognizant of. And then obviously there's other apps like Hot or Not. Again, it's a smiley face app up here, but it's actually Meet Me. It's a dating social media app that allows users to connect with people based on geographic proximity. As the app's name suggests, users are encouraged to meet each other in person. Okay, again, our kids might think, oh, I'm downloading it to meet new friends, or so-and-so has it. They don't need this on their phone. We have this, it looks like a star. It's called Vault. Okay, and all these, when you download them on your phone, it's just the pictures. It doesn't tell you what the name is until you open the app. And again, it will hide and protect your photos and videos. Photos and videos imported into the phone can only be viewed or played when the correct password is entered. So again, it's password protected so that if they leave their phone out and you wouldn't think of clicking on something like this, even if you did, it's gonna make you enter a password to even get what's inside of it. So it also hides and protects SMS, which if you don't know what that is, that's text messages. So again, things that, our kids might say, like, oh yeah, it's not on my phone. I didn't text this to her because something maybe happened in school and they're trying to play that didn't happen. Well, look at my phone. Well, yeah, you look at it, it's not going to be in there because it's hidden in one of their apps. Hide Photos Video Hide It Pro, that's what it's called, but it looks like a music app that you would download music in or just have a playlist in it. Well, it's trusted more than 20 million users with an average rating of 4.6. And again, hides photos and videos from your photo gallery. You can only get into it with a PIN code. So again, things that your kids could possibly have on their phones to be hiding things that they don't want you to know. Again, when I saw this, I thought that was a Ninja Turtle. And that's just showing my age a little bit. That's what I thought, not the new one that just came out. I know there was a new movie, but old school, talking 30 years ago. It's an app hider. It will report the app into App Hider, which you want to hide, and then you can uninstall that app from your home system. So again, you don't even have to you download it and then it disappears off of your home screen. Okay, if you ever need to know what's in applications on your children's phones, when you go into the general settings, if you have like an iPhone, go into the general settings, at the bottom it'll show applications. You click on applications, it will show every single application that's downloaded on the phone. So even if they, have so many apps, it's like pages and pages and pages, you go straight to the applications on the settings page under general on the cell phone, and it'll show you the list of all of them. Again, Whisper, this is the app that I talked about on the screen before. It's the anonymous social media, allowing users to post, share photos and videos, but again, it reveals your exact location. And I didn't believe it at first. Again, until I did it myself, and it does. It's scary what these applications, if you're hooked up to cell phone towers, it'll ping off your exact location when you have those apps open. So simple tips for protecting kids: create an open and honest environment with your children. Start conversations regularly about practicing online safety. Emphasize the concept of credibility to teens. Not everything they see on the internet is true, and people on the internet may not always be who they appear to be. And watch for changes in behavior. If your child suddenly avoids the computer, it may be a sign that they are being bullied online. Review security settings and privacy policies for the websites kids frequent. And these settings are frequently updated, so check back regularly. And make sure mobile devices are secure. Use PINs and passwords, only install apps from trusted sources, and understand the privacy setting and permissions for all apps. Unlawful dissemination of intimate image. Kind of talked about this before with my story of my middle school student scenario. The offenses, just cut to the related to obscene and other sexual materials and performances. A person commits the offense of unlawful dissemination of intimate image if with intent to harass, annoy, or alarm a current or former sexual or intimate partner, the person disseminates a visual depiction of the current or former sexual or intimate partner in a state of nudity or engaged in sexual conduct. Now again, you don't even have to have the picture completely nude. If it's like a silhouette even of like a female body, but you don't see nipples on the breast, that is still considered an explicit picture. So that will still fall under this title. Sexual abuse of children. We'll talk about the child pornography. Any person who intentionally views or knowingly possesses or controls any book, magazine, pamphlet, slide, photograph, film, videotape, computer depiction, or other material depicting a child under the age of 18 years, engaging in a prohibited sexual act or in the simulation of such act commits an offense. Again, it would still be considered child pornography if they are not actually doing anything sexually in the picture. Them just being exposed is the sexual act. So I've had some people say, well, it's not, they're not doing anything in the picture, but it doesn't matter. They're under the age of 18, they're exposed, that's the sexual act. So here are some statistics for sending explicit messages. Teenage girls have a few reasons for why they participate in sexting. 40% do it as a joke, 34% do it to feel sexy, and 12% feel pressured to do it. Okay, there was an incident at Wallenthal-Pack High School that was brought to our attention a couple of weeks ago. A female sent a picture to her boyfriend. He sent it around the school, but it actually wasn't a real picture of her. She got it off of Google. So that was her, kind of like fallback. Well, it wasn't really me. It was a picture I found online. Doesn't matter. She was depicting it as herself. That's what the sender that she sent it to, they thought it was. They sent it around the school. So obviously that child, it was handled appropriately and it fell under the disseminating an explicit picture and also child pornography, okay? Because it was portrayed as someone under the age of 18. That's what they thought it was. They sent it out knowing that it was another student potentially, but it ended up being just a snapshot off of Google. Who will see your sext is what they call it. They call it sexting when you send an explicit text message. 17% of sexters share the messages they receive with others, and 55% of those share them with more than one person. While nearly 70% of teen boys and girls who sext do so with their girlfriend or boyfriend, 61 of all sexters who have sent nude images admitted that they were pressured to do it at least once. Sending semi-nude or nude photos is more common among teen girls. 22% of teen girls report sending images of this nature, while only 18% of same-age boys have. 24% of high school-age teens, 14 to 17, and 33% of college-age students, 18 to 24, have been involved in a form of nude sexting, and 11% of teen girls ages 13 to 16 have been involved with sexting or receiving sexually explicit messages. So again, every single school that we've been to so far in Lackawanna County has been an issue with explicit pictures being sent around boys and females. It's not just females, it's just common assumption is that it always is, but it's not. It's both. But it's happening, and it literally is happening here, unfortunately. So what are they doing about anti-bullying and cyberbullying across the state? Okay, we can only do so much as parents, telling our kids, how to be positive contributions to society and how to treat people and what we do if we're in a situation of someone making fun of somebody else and standing up for that person, or do you fall to the standards of bullying and making fun of that person as well? Well, U.S. Senator, this is from October, U.S. Senator Bob Casey announced the introduction of Safe Schools Improvement Act. The act is intended to safeguard against bullying and harassment in kindergarten through 12 schools. A media release writes that bill would require school districts to adopt codes of conduct specifically prohibiting bullying and harassment on the basis of race, color, national origin, sex, including sexual orientation, gender identity, and sex characteristics, disability, and religion. Companion legislation has been introduced in the U.S. The Safe School Acts Improvement Act will require schools and school districts receiving federal funding to specifically prohibit bullying and harassment, provide annual notice to parents, students, and education professionals on prohibited conduct and procedures for students or parents to report incidents of bullying and harassment, and support efforts to prevent and respond to incidents of bullying and harassment both in school and online through prevention programs and policies with proven effectiveness. So again, not just everything is going to get, kicked to the police. The schools are going to do their due diligence again, and they're going to adhere to making sure that they're safeguarding the children within the schools from bullying and harassment. So again, I don't want to be too redundant. Again, internet tips for parents. It's easier to say, of course, I'll just monitor my kids' technology. Yeah, when your kid's 4, 5, and under the age of 10, and maybe they just have a tablet. Okay, yeah, you can put time restraints on how long they're on it until it shuts off. Well, when you have a teenager who has a cell phone and goes out to their friend's house or they're going to the mall, they have their phone, you can't, how are you gonna monitor that? They need their cell phone, they have to be able to contact you. So again, it's easier said than done, right? Trying to be involved in what they have on their phones and things of that nature. So again, we have nearly 40% of teens surveyed find it challenging to talk to their parents when they're struggling with loneliness and exclusion, okay? So we want to keep an open dialogue. When asked how their day was, 77% of parents say their child responds with fine, but we know more is going on. Open up a conversation and build the trust relationship they need. So again, to now come back on what I was saying, your kids are at the mall, how are you don't know what they're doing with their cell phones because they're not with you and they're of age. These are apps you can download on your phone, and they will monitor all of these apps, okay? Some of them have, obviously, a subscription. Nothing anymore is free, unfortunately, and inflation. So these apps right here, I looked into, and I figured that these would be the best to show because their ratings are 5 stars. Okay, there seems to be no negatives with them thus far. You can monitor their messages, their browsing history. Some of them actually have like a built-in GPS. If you have it on your phone and they have it on theirs, you can actually monitor, depending on how far you want to dig into it on keeping up with your child, you can actually see where they are at all times. It's weird. I never thought that like, to me, I'm always like, oh my God, wasn't that like illegal? Like, cause in my head, I'm thinking like you're tracing someone, but when it comes to your kid, it's your kid. You want to know where they are at all times, and you want to make sure when they say they're at Johnny's house, all of a sudden they're popping up at the Viewmont Mall, and you're like, well, that's weird. You're supposed to be at Johnny's house. You'll kind of know before them that they lied to you and that they're full of it. So again, these are the applications that I had found most relevant, and they were rated the best. Again, it's called the Choose Kindness Project. It's a kinder world starts with us. This is like their mission statement. Working together on bullying prevention, intentional inclusion, and youth mental wellness, we can help kids create the future that they imagine. You as a parent are struggling with how to have these conversations with your kids, to have them come forward about if they're being bullied or what's going on at school that might, have them depressed or not, sometimes you go to say to your kid like, oh, hey, how you doing? And they're like, oh, go away. Like, I'm going to my friend's house or wherever the case may be. They actually are trained professionals. They will create basically like a template for you to go through to try different avenues with your kid to kind of get on a more, better rapport basis, I would say, to have your child want to open up to you. Because like we said before, the statistic, most kids, like, they're not going to tell you that they're being bullied if they are, unfortunately, because they're embarrassed and, no one wants to admit that they have a flaw that people are finding funny and spreading nonsense about. It's hard for our kids. This is just a quick video that we like to end on, kind of show how relevant everything is in today's technology.
I'm here at the scene of tomorrow's shooting, where a 15-year-old will kill 4 children, 2 adults, and then turn the gun on himself.
When the shooting starts happening tomorrow, first I'll probably just think it's firecrackers or a car backfiring or something.
He told some of us that his dad kept a gun in his closet, and he always talked about using it on, the people that bullied him. Tomorrow I'll probably say that I wish I told someone.
After the shooting, we're going to feel pretty bad about picking on him, but until then, we'll probably just keep doing it because he's pretty weird.
Tomorrow I'll probably point out that something has seemed off with him since the beginning of the school year.
And I'm now joined by the officers who will be the first responders tomorrow. What additional details can you share with us?
Well, someone is expected to tell us after the shooting that the shooter has been posting on social media about doing this for weeks.
So how will you explain the shooting to your daughter?
Actually, I won't get to explain it to her because she won't make it.
This is Christine Lynn, reporting from the scene of another shooting. We'll say we never saw coming.
So we always show that video to the kids, just to kind of see what their reactions are while the video is going on and when it ends. And obviously when the bullies come up and say, we'll feel bad for bullying him, but for right now we won't really care because he's pretty weird, and a lot of the kids will laugh. Apparently to them it's funny. And it shows that, the first student said they were posting it online. And, I didn't say anything about it, but I wish I did. We tell kids, when I was growing up, my parents always told me, sticks and stones will break your bones, but words will never hurt you. I find that false. I don't like that mentality because words hurt. Sometimes they hurt more than just getting punched in the face. Because you get punched in the face, yeah, you'll have a bruise there for a little bit, but it goes away. But if people keep making fun of you every day, over and over and over again, that's something you have to live with every single day. You have to just live one day getting punched in the face and then it's over with. So we try to just tell kids, again, be nice. You might think it's a joke to someone, but it might not be to them. And you don't know what they're going through. And unfortunately, that can be the straw that breaks the camel's back. And unfortunately, school shootings are happening. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. They're happening and they shouldn't be. And a lot of them are preventable. But unfortunately, the signs leading up to them, we don't take seriously. And then afterwards, we go, whoops. I don't want to say whoops anymore. I want to get ahead of it before it happens. So we hope that this was beneficial. Again, the whole reason why we went in a full circle of cyberbullying and harassment into the technology itself is because, again, our kids don't know what is considered harassment and that there are laws that you can be charged with when it comes to cybering in general. So we like to, educate parents just in case, so you can, teach your kids as well in case they didn't see any of the presentations that we did in the school, because we don't want our juveniles. They're our future. We don't want them being in trouble. We want them to be, positive contributions to society. So, thank you very much. We hope you guys learned something today and hopefully download some of those apps so you can monitor your kids.